Welcome, welcome, welcome to the finale of Commanding Magic: The Lost Episodes 2. Today, we're taking a look at Commander 2018 and what it brings to the table. Let's go. Hello everybody, and welcome back to Commanding Magic: The Lost Episodes 2. Travis and Brandon here today, and we are going to be going over Commander 2018, the main supplemental product of the format that this channel was made for. Brandon, how's it going?
It's going.
How do you feel about Commander 2018?
I don't like it.
You don't like it. So right off the bat, we are like less than 10 seconds into the show, and Brandon says, I don't like it. I'm actually looking down at my timestamp, and it's 40 seconds into the show, so whatever. So
Nice.
this commander set, it's hard to say what the theme is, or if there was a theme. I don't really think there was a theme, because...
Planeswalkers.
Okay, so...
The theme.
Yeah, so this is Planeswalkers 2.0 as far as commander goes. Each of these decks has a Planeswalker that can be used as a commander, but the thing of it is we have a 3-color deck, a 3-color deck, a 3-color deck, and a 2-color deck. So you'd just think it would be kind of uniform, and it's not the first time I've seen this lack of uniformity in the commander sets. But when we look at these commanders, each deck kind of has a few different ways that it can be played. And in the past, haven't we seen some sort of synergy at least between the commanders a little bit?
Kind of, yeah.
So
I mean, last year's was great.
Yeah.
Everything was based around, a creature theme.
Yeah, which was really cool. But in this situation, I believe that maybe some of the commanders have synergies with each other, but there's at least one outlier that can be used to make something completely different. And we'll go into that as we go on. I think the only way to really do it is to do it. So should we just get right into it?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, so the first Planeswalker we're going to be looking at is Aminato the Fate Shifter. Now, this is an Esper deck. So what do you usually think of when you think of Esper, Brandon?
Artifacts.
That's what I thought,
thought, too. The first thing
too.
I think about when I think artifacts, because, it's just...
That's what I thought, too. And I think it's really the Alara block that did that to me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I played during that block pretty consistently, so maybe that has a hand in it. But let's just go through Aminato and see what we have. So for 3 mana, she comes in, he comes in, whatever. It could be anything at this point. I don't even know. With 3 loyalty, and then +1, draw a card, then put a card from your hand on top of your library. So this is a little bit of a Sensei's Divining Top type of thing where you kind of get a little bit of an insight onto what's on top of your library, and you can almost control what's on top of your library. So
Would
immediately...
you say that you're shifting your fate?
Right, exactly. And then -1, exile another target permanent you own, then return it to the battlefield under your control. So we have blink synergy here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then at -6, choose left or right. Each player gains control of all non-land permanents other than Aminato the Fate Shifter, controlled by the next player in the chosen direction. So this ultimate is chaos. That's how I would say that it is. So that's kind of like a red thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that the blue comes from the +1, and I'd say that the blink comes from the white-blue, but the ultimate just kind of seems out of nowhere. And using this as your commander, I suppose you can play a really big control game with a lot of ETB effects and things like that, but I wouldn't even think you'd want to use that ultimate. You know?
Mm-hmm. I don't even know how you use that ultimate.
For no other reason than to just shake up the board like crazy, or if you're really micromanaging your opponent's boards using whatever it might be. But I don't know, man. This Planeswalker does not do it for me. I'll admit
I've never read that ultimate.
I'll admit I use this card in a deck, but it has nothing to do with a grand scheme,
Mm-hmm.
So all in all, this is not a card for me.
Okay.
Why don't you tell us about the next card?
Verena, Lich Queen. Not to be confused with the Lich King.
Right. That's different.
1 and an Esper for 4/4. It's a zombie wizard. Whenever you attack with one or more zombies, Draw that many cards, then discard that many cards. You gain that much life. Okay.
Yeah.
2, exile 2 cards from your graveyard. Create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token.
I think that this card could be a very good commander in an Esper Zombies deck. And it's funny to say Esper Zombies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we have zombies in white now, at least a few of them.
I mean, from Amonkhet.
Yeah, that's exactly. So I actually like this card.
Yeah.
I think this card is pretty sweet. If I were to ever make an actual zombie themed deck other than Sidisi to actually play zombies in the more traditional zombie way, this would probably be the deck that I would build.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But you can't really say jam this card into the 99 because what other commander are you going to use for the Esper zombie deck? You know? So that's that. Good card has to be the commander if you're going to use it, as far as I'm concerned.
What about Yannette, the Cryptic Sovereign?
I love Yannette, Cryptic Sovereign. 5 mana for a 3/5 Sphinx, has flying, vigilance, and menace, or manass as my playgroup calls it here. Whenever Yannette, Cryptic Sovereign attacks, reveal the top card of your library. If that card's converted mana cost is odd, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. Otherwise, draw a card.
Weren't you going to build this deck?
I did build this deck.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've played this deck with my playgroup a few times, and I've played it with a couple family members a couple times. It's a fun deck. The only real reason why it's fun is because I call it against all odds, and it just has everything in the deck is either 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9 CMC. And so, I mean, you know, without the commander in play, the contents of the deck being odd don't really matter. But it's still fun. I don't know. It's one of those pet decks for me that's just silly. But, I mean, other than that, unless you really build it that way, or, for example, use Aminato or something to make sure the top card of your library is odd. Aminato's in this deck, and that's the only purpose that Aminato serves, is to make sure that I'm stacking my deck with something odd for my next turn. And even then...
Stacking your deck?
That's right.
Cheater.
And even then, Yannette has to attack to do that trigger. Albeit, Yannette has evasion with flying, has vigilance, so it doesn't have to attack, and then menace, which makes Yannette even harder to block. But it's a fun deck. Is it good? Probably not. How about Estrid the Masked? We're moving on to the Bant deck.
So, 1 and a Bant for a 3 loyalty planeswalker. +2, untap each enchanted permanent you control.
That's good.
Okay, well, they have to be enchanted.
Yeah.
So that +2 does nothing unless something's enchanted.
Correct.
It does literally nothing.
However,
it's whatever. It's a +2. You're gaining loyalty.
Yeah.
Right.
However, the next ability.
-1. Create a white aura enchantment token named Mask. Attached to another target permanent. The token has enchant permanent and totem armor.
Yeah. So it essentially gives whatever you enchant it with totem armor, which is so good. Someone in my play group here plays this deck. And this deck is powerful. Out of the box, this deck is powerful. I'm telling you.
I mean, totem armor is powerful.
Yeah. And it's just -1. And if you can +2 to untap each enchanted permanent you control. This is a powerful commander. This is a very powerful commander. Anyway, moving on. Sorry.
-7. Put the top 7 cards of your library into your graveyard. Return all non-aura enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then do the same for aura cards.
In the deck that just is based around enchantments and things like that.
I mean, yeah, this is your Bant Enchantress commander.
This card is powerful.
Yeah.
It's not... I chose to use a different commander. So I've had an Abzan enchantments deck for a while. And the only reason why I was Abzan enchantments is because I didn't know what else to make it. Once this came out, I wanted to switch to Bant for that reason. But this is not... this card is in the 99, but I chose actively not to use it as my commander. The commander that I do use is the next one. Kestia the Cultivator. Say what?
Talk about it.
Yeah. Kestia the Cultivator is 4 for a 4/4. Legendary enchantment creature nymph with Bestow. I love Bestow. Bestow is sweet. So for 6 mana...
Gets around commander tax, by the way.
If you cast this card for its bestow cost, it's an aura spell with enchant creature. It becomes a creature again if it's not attached to a creature. Enchanted creature gets +4/+4, and whenever an enchanted creature or enchantment creature you control attacks, draw a card.
Mm-hmm.
I like this a lot. It gets around that commander text. Let it die as many times as you want. I'll just bestow it again.
Mm-hmm.
I like this card a lot. However, the next card was a close contender. I didn't use it. It's in the 99, but I have to say, because of what this next card is, I wish that it worked differently.
Yeah.
The next card,
Sunlit.
Go for it.
The full band. It's a shaman,
It is.
and it's a merfolk too.
It's a merfolk, and that's the key thing.
Yep. So Suvasa the Sunlit gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control.
I mean, that's good.
Whenever you cast your first enchantment spell each turn, draw a card. So what
Also
do you want to
good.
be different?
I want it to have merfolk synergy.
Oh.
So, for example, Verena Lich Queen doesn't go with that deck at all.
Nope.
With the Esper deck, it has nothing to do with what's on top of your library. It has nothing to do with blinking, and it's not odd CMC. It's the odd one out that you could use to build something different if you wanted to. That's what I feel like this card should have been for Merfolk, because Merfolk doesn't really have a Merfolk synergistic Merfolk creature type legendary creature.
Plus, that's the perfect 3 colors that's seen the most printing for Merfolk.
Exactly.
They've been in all 5 colors now.
Yeah. But still, this would have been
Exelon block. It would have been perfect.
Yeah, this would have been the prime example of something that could have been the Merfolk synergistic legendary Merfolk creature. But it's not. They just made it an enchantment thing. I honestly feel like this is a gigantic misstep. And I know I'm being really hard on it because I've been waiting for the right commander to come along for the Bant Merfolk deck, because I don't want to play something that's not a Merfolk for the Merfolk Bant deck.
Yep.
But I want the Merfolk that I play to support the Merfolk deck in some way other than the fact that it's just a Merfolk. An example of something else that would be that way would be what's the legendary werewolf?
Oh, no. I know who you're talking about.
I don't even remember his name
The
anymore.
Kralin Horde.
Yes.
Ulrich.
So that's another example of
God
another
awful.
thing that I would consider to be a misstep. Of you have here a legendary werewolf that's in the colors that werewolves are in, but does nothing for werewolves specifically.
Mhm.
He's just a beater. So, again, another thing where it's just kind of like, okay.
I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that are thankful for it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's move
Let's
on.
talk about the god-awful deck that was the Jund deck.
Let's move on. Yeah, let's move on to the Planeswalker here, Brandon. Lord Windgrace.
2 Jund, 2 and a Jund for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker. +2, discard a card, then draw a card. If a land card is discarded this way, draw an additional card.
It's actually really good.
Okay. -3, return up to 2 target land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Mhm.
Okay, got that synergy with that +2.
That's right.
And then -11, that's a lot. Destroy up to 6 target non-land permanents, then create 6 2/2 green cat warrior creature tokens with Forest Walk.
That's really random.
Mm-hmm.
And also notice that you destroy up to 6 target non-land permanents, but you always create 6 Cat Warrior tokens.
So you could destroy 1, bang,
And get
then
6.
6 dudes.
I mean, if you're doing less than 6, then something's probably a little bit weird with your game state. But okay, this Planeswalker is really good in the Lands Matter deck. This could easily be the Jund Lands Matter commander, the premier Jund Lands Matter commander, if I were to be perfectly honest. I think this card is actually very good. Mostly for the +2 and the -3. The -11, it's fine. But you're mostly going to be using Lord Windgrace for utility. So let's move on to the next creature here and see what kind of synergies we have with Lord Windgrace. We have Gyrus, Waker of Corpses. So this is a Jund Hydra commander, which is kind of cool, right? Because I know that a lot of people have the pet deck for Hydras. People like Hydras. They're a fun archetype to try to build around. So here we have Jund and then X. It's a 0/0 initially, but it enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. So this card actually gets more powerful the more times it has died because you're forced to pay more mana for it.
Right.
And then whenever Gyrus attacks, you may exile target creature with lesser power from your graveyard. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that card that's tapped and attacking, adds that token to the end of combat. This kind of could work with Lord Windgrace's +2.
Yeah, but it's slowly emptying your graveyard though, because it exiles that card. So eventually you're just gonna run out of stuff.
Yeah, unless and you can't even really play a ton of self-mill other than like Entomb, Buried Alive, things like that, because you're not in blue.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. This card is interesting. I'm sure there's people who have found good ways to use it, but I'm drawing a blank if I'm honest. It just seems like a big Hydra that might be able to get you a creature back every now and then. You know?
Yep. So moving on.
I actually like the next one. Tell us about Thantis the Warweaver.
Thantis the Warweaver is 3 in a Jund for a 5/5 spider.
Spider.
It's got vigilance and reach. All creatures attack each combat if able.
Really chaotic. Okay.
Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature.
So again, this has nothing to do like the 3 legendary creatures in this deck hardly have anything to do with each other at all.
Nope. This
has
nothing to do with lands.
We've seen a little bit of synergy in the Esper deck, a lot of synergy in the Bant deck, and the Jund deck is just like a head scratcher, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a spider.
Big mana creatures, that's it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's all I really got to say about that.
I mean, this could have been our Spider Lord.
Right.
You know?
I mean, we have, what's her name? The black green
Ishkana.
one. Yeah. If I just type Ish, will it come up?
No. Mm-hmm.
I have to actually go find it. Yeah, I'm going to go bring that up. And I'm not saying that every time a legendary creature of a certain creature type is printed that it has to have a lot of synergy with like the creature types that it is. Right. But the problem that I have is these are kind of the first ones, you know,
right,
to expand into another color. Savasa going into white for Merfolk, and then Thantis going into black, or going to red for spiders, you know. And I cannot find.
It's in the thesaurus, if I could talk, for Thantis.
All right, there we go. Found it this time. But yeah, so Ishkana has flavor with spiders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thantis doesn't, and you know, like I said, we don't have to always have that synergy, but for the first time that we're getting something that could be a candidate to be the commander.
You have to play a different commander if you want to play all of your spiders together.
Yeah. Next up, we go into the blue-red deck, starting off with the Planeswalker here, Saheeli the Gifted. 4-mana Planeswalker comes in with 4 loyalty, +1 says create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. Personally, I don't like servos. I think they should just all be Thopters or constructs or something. I don't know. Yeah. But still protects herself. Another +1. The next spell you cast this turn costs 1 less for each artifact you control as you cast it. Good. Some cost reduction for artifacts. I mean, you know, blue-red is a good color combination for artifacts.
Yeah.
And then -7 for each artifact you control. Create a token that's a copy of it. Those tokens gain haste. Exile those tokens at the beginning of the next end step. I mean, Alpha Strike with your artifacts, I suppose?
Yeah.
What if... for each artifact. Okay, what was that card that we went over? It was one of the... one of the sagas from Dominaria that on the 3rd chapter it turned all your artifacts into 5/5s.
Oh, the Brothers' War.
Yeah. Was it? No, it wasn't the Brothers' War. It wasn't the Mirari Conjecture. It was I have this in my artifact deck. I should know this. Was it? No, it wasn't.
The Antiquities War.
Antiquities War. Okay, that's what it was.
Close.
The Brothers' War is the name of one of the books. Fun fact. But Yeah, so with the Antiquities War, you could get that to chapter 3, turn all your artifacts into 5/5s, then use Saheeli's ultimate to put a copy of all those into play. They gain haste. And then that's like, again, like I said back in the Dominaria review, it's kind of a glass cannon strat. But, could still be fun, I guess. This card is fine.
We're gonna get synergy here with the next legendary though. Brutaclad, Telcor Engineer. This is this is the only one out of this whole set that in red and blue that really excited me.
It's a Phyrexian, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's a 4/4. It's an Artificer. Creature tokens you control have haste.
I mean, that's cool.
At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 2/1 blue mirror artifact creature token. Then you may choose a token creature or token you control. Just a token.
A token.
Even a token.
Yeah.
If you do, each other token you control becomes a copy of that token.
Each other token becomes a copy of that. Well, that's pretty cool.
So it doesn't have to be a token creature.
Yeah,
it
right.
Be a token.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be an artifact.
Nope. I don't know what kind of silly tokens are out there, but I'm sure there's some.
Merit lag?
Yeah.
Well, they would all legendary each other out then.
Yeah.
Right? But that would be pretty silly. Unless you're running Mirror Gallery. That's the new deck. That's the new deck, Brandon. The Brutaclad, Telcor Engineer, Mirror Gallery, Merit Lag deck. Combo deck.
Make it.
2018. I mean, yeah, this card is actually pretty good outside of artifacts, and I do like that it is an artifact itself, but so there isn't synergy with artifacts, right? Because there's plenty of ways you can get artifact tokens of different sorts, whatever they may be, your Wormcoil Engine tokens or whatever, I don't know, Golem tokens.
Well, like you were saying in your Magical Christmas Land with Saheeli, you make all your tokens, and then you make this one guy turn all your tokens into the biggest token dude you got. And then
so
go to town.
Wait, at the beginning, okay. So Antiquities War Chapter 3, Ultimate Saheeli. At the beginning of combat, Brutaclad turns everything into a copy of all your artifacts become 5/5s anyway. You have to have something bigger out already.
Well, you probably would.
But Magical Christmas Land, but next up we have
Stone Isle out. We'll get to that later. It's a 12/12. Turn everything you control into a 12/12.
So next up we have Tawnos, Urza's Apprentice. First time we've seen Tawnos, I think, right?
Yep.
And for 2 mana, we have a 1/3 Human Artificer with haste, and then you can tap a blue and a red and tap to copy target activated or triggered ability you control from an artifact source. You may choose new targets. So this is really specific.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have something out with an activated or triggered ability that's an artifact. So I guess ETB abilities are triggered abilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could play the thing and then copy the thing with him. But someone tell me how they make this card work. Use your Strionic Resonator to copy it, your Rings of Bright Hearth to copy it. I don't know.
My master believes anything is achievable.
All right, Tawnos, tell me how your commander deck is achievable, and then we'll talk.
Can I talk about Eryximethus?
Probably
Isle?
Eryximethus, probably one of the coolest cards to come out of this set.
I love it. This is my favorite commander from the set. So 2 green-white, or why does it say green-white when it's green-blue?
It does say that. Yeah, Brandon reads off of the text off to the right-hand side of the card on Mythic.
Until I see something like that, and then I'll move to the card itself.
Yep.
So 2 green and a blue for a 12/12. Kraken. Let's get Kraken. Too bad it's a green, huh?
Yeah, if it were just mono blue, dude.
Mm-hmm. So Eryximethus, Slumbering Isle, enters the battlefield tapped with 5 slumber counters on it. Sleepy
Kraken.
So as long as Eryximethus, say that 10 times fast, man. Good luck. Has a slumber counter on it. It's a land. Ooh, interesting. So it's a land.
Yeah.
Whenever you cast a spell, you may remove a slumber counter from it. Tap, add a green and a blue.
I love that it adds a green and a blue.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially a mana rock until it wakes up. And then it's a mana rock that's
And
also a 12/12.
And then it's a 12/12.
Yeah. And in green and blue, you know what being green means? You have things that like Rancor that can give it trample. Like,
And then, I mean, you have things to get rid of the counters. Just, no, because it enters the battlefield. Okay, so you can't blink it and have it come back without it.
correct.
But still,
no, I think this card is awesome. Like,
this is the
flavorfully
dude you put all
even.
your
It's
auras on.
just looking at the art, this giant thing underwater with an island on top of it that things and people and whatnot are living on.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty sweet. Windgrace's Judgment, being a 5-mana black and green instant for any number of opponents, destroy target non-land permanent that player controls. I suppose that this starts to become useful if you have at least 2 opponents, because that 1 opponent doesn't really do much for you. But has some potential. If you have 3 opponents, you're destroying 3 non-land permanents at instant speed, and that's fun. But that's pretty much where that card's functionality ends. How about Xantia Sleeper Agent?
Xantia Sleeper Agent. 1 of black and a red. It's a 5/5 minion.
Ooh, minion.
As Xantia Sleeper Agent enters the battlefield, an opponent of your choice gains control of it. Okay. Xantia attacks each combat if able and can't attack its owner or planeswalkers its owner controls. So its owner is still you, even though somebody else has it.
Yep.
3. Xantia's controller loses 2 life and you draw a card. Any player may activate this ability.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's this card's going to be in the commander cube.
Yeah.
To be just a fun chaos type commander, which is definitely meant to be. I mean, if you actually built the deck, definitely meant to be used with cards like the original Sleeper Agent, 1 for a 3/3, that does kind of the same. That goes in under your opponent's control or whatever, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, Sleeper just does 2 damage to whoever controls it.
The one thing I really liked about this set was that we're going back in time and seeing a lot of these older characters that are long gone dead.
Yeah, I don't know who this person is really, if I'm honest.
Oh, she was real big in the story.
Really? During what set? During what set?
The Phyrexian, like all the invasion and all that.
Oh yeah, you see Phyrexian Tower in the back there.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Interesting. Very interesting.
I mean, she was the sleeper agent when. Yeah. I'm gonna sit here and pretend I know what I'm talking about.
Yep. Yuriko, the Tiger's Shadow, is a card
This is my second favorite card from the
set. A lot of people were very excited about this card because it's a legendary ninja. And people have been waiting to build a good ninja deck for a long time. And people have been saying that the time is nigh. So we have a 3-mana 1/3. And whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Each opponent loses life to that card's converted mana cost. That's sweet. But it gets better because we have Commander Ninjutsu. So you attack with something else, and then you pay 2 and return an unblocked attacker you control. It doesn't even have to be a ninja. To put this card onto the battlefield from your hand or the command zone into tapped and attacking. So this card also dodges commander attacks. Yeah, this card is awesome. Someone in my play group has this deck in the deck. He said that he kind of wanted to make it a little bit budget, but even in the budget state that it's in, still pretty powerful.
I need to get a copy of this for Assassins.
Oh yeah, definitely. This card is also one of the more spendy cards in the set. But a card that Brandon I can't even talk anymore. A card that Brandon mentioned earlier is Ancient Stone Idol.
10 mana for a golem. It's a 12/12. It's got flash.
Yes.
It's your 10 mana golem with flash. Okay. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature. Okay, now we're talking. It's got trample. When an Ancient Stone Idol dies, create a 6/12 colorless artifact creature token with trample. So you just got to get this to die, and then you've got a 6/12, an army of 6/12s instead of 5/5s.
And then you have out Arcades and make everyone attack using their toughness.
Now we're really going into Magical Christmas Land. Okay, at that point you have to be playing
5 color.
Yep.
But
well, no, only 4.
This card's still a fun combat trick.
Yeah.
against.
A combat trick it is.
Yeah, and I don't think you'd even want to play this for its 10 mana.
Nope.
You just want to wait for the right time to flash it in.
For that Alpha Strike.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're playing in more than just 2 people in a normal 4-player pod, wait for somebody else's attack step that's not attacking you.
Right.
If they go in all in with their tokens, you're paying this guy for free.
Mm-hmm. So Coveted Jewel is a 6-mana artifact, and when it enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards, and it taps for 3 mana of any one color.
Okay.
Yeah, right? Can we just cut it off there, please? Whenever one or more creatures an opponent's control attacks you and aren't blocked, that player draws 3 cards and gains control of Coveted Jewel. Untap it.
Oh, damn.
It's a fun little effect to play around with, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it kind of, if you're with the right play group that is either really competitive or is just in it for the grins, just to have a ton of fun, then you fight over the jewel more than you fight over who wins the game.
Yes, man, I want to draw some cards.
It becomes more of can I win the game and control the jewel? That's how I ultra win the game.
So, Endless Atlas.
Endless
is
Atlas.
2-mana artifact. Got 2 and tap, draw a card. Activate this ability only if you control 3 or more lands with the same name.
So this rewards you for playing basics.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool. Because I know that there are people who
don't have the money.
Not necessarily don't have the money, but so there's someone in my playgroup who has a 5-color deck and they just wanted to play non-basics.
Right.
I was like, okay. And then I had to talk to him and just be like, hey, listen, I know that our play group might not play these types of effects, but there are definitely effects that destroy all non-basic lands,
Mm-hmm.
Wave of Vitriol, Ruination.
I'm guilty of playing Wave of Vitriol.
I love Wave of Vitriol. I think it's a great card. But I mean, it's just, that's something you need to watch out for,
Yep.
So in the deck that is brave enough to play basics, Endless Atlas is going to draw you a card for 2 mana.
I mean, which is most of my decks, because a lot of my decks play on a budget.
Endless Atlas doesn't even actually seem that good, if I'm honest.
No?
I think there's other cards that are better.
Mm-hmm. How about Retrofitter Foundry?
Retrofitter Foundry is a 1-mana artifact that which you can tap 3 to untap it. Tap 2 and tap it to create a 1/1 servo. Tap 1 and tap it to sack a servo to make a 1/1 Thopter with flying. And then tap it and sack a Thopter to create a 4/4 construct. So
it's literally retrofitting your artifacts.
But I mean, you've got to work. You've got to work to
yeah.
make this do anything. I'm sure there's combo potential here, but
I mean, you have Voltaic Key out, and what's the one that untaps everything on every other?
Unwinding Clock?
Unwinding Clock, yep.
Unwinding Clock.
But then, I mean, you're sacking so much mana into this.
Yeah, you're putting a lot of time and effort into something that's going to net you a 4/4. Or even if you already have Thopters from other effects or servos from other effects, it's still, your end game is a 4/4.
Yep.
But again, this is meant for the combo player, I feel. Geo
Well,
Golem, however, is not.
Go for it.
Oh, okay. 5 mana for a 5/3 with trample. Whenever Geo Golem deals combat damage to a player, you may cast your commander from the command zone without paying its mana cost.
It's pretty good.
It is.
That's really good.
I don't quite get it and why it works that way, but, it's still pretty sweet. I mean, maybe.
I'll take a Flash Commander.
Without paying its mana cost? Yeah, absolutely. Isolated Watchtower.
Isolated Watchtower. So, non-basic land. Tap add a colorless. 2 tap, scry 1. Okay.
All right.
Then you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a basic land card, if a basic land card is revealed this way, put it onto the battlefield tapped. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ability only if an opponent controls at least 2 or more lands than you. WotC
loves their non-basic land towers.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking Phyrexian Tower, Isolated Watchtower, Command Tower, Arcane Lighthouse Tower.
How about Forge of Heroes?
Forge of Heroes is, as soon as I get it up here, it's a non-basic land that adds a colorless, and then tap, choose target commander that enter the battlefield this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it if it's a creature, and a loyalty if it's a planeswalker. I think this is only good if it's a planeswalker.
This is better than the Watchtower, in my opinion.
Yes,
They
it
do two
is.
completely different things, but
I mean, giving a +1/+1 counter to a commander is fine, but giving a loyalty counter to a planeswalker, I think, has a lot more
hey,
implications.
I'll take giving my Gave an extra counter.
Sure, if you're
when I'm
playing it,
playing
if
them.
you're playing that kind of deck, then yeah, sure. What about boring ass Charger?
2 and a white for a 2/1. It's a Pegasus. So let's see what it's got. When Boreas Charger leaves the battlefield, choose an opponent who controls more lands than you. Search your library for a number of plains cards equal to the difference and reveal them. Put them onto the battlefield and the rest into your hand. Or tapped and the rest into your hand.
White mana ramp.
Shuffle your library.
White mana ramp.
I mean, it says plains. It doesn't say basic plains, so you can get, your Hallowed Fountains, your just anything that has a plains in its subtype.
Your there's another one that I thought there was. I can't remember the name of it. I don't know.
There's
Yeah,
ones
I
from
like this
Unpin
card.
that the cycling lands can do it. The ones from Battle for Zendikar can do it.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot lately, actually.
So at this point, honestly, like I feel like I just want to do a little bit of skipping around because there's more rares. There's rares to go through. There's mostly rares actually. A couple of uncommons, but I'm not excited about a lot of them.
No, I mean,
Uh,
Entreat the Dead was pretty neat.
The next one to come up is Amanato's Augury, being 8 mana for a sorcery, which, right off the bat is a lot. But you exile the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield. Until end of turn, for each non-land card, on each non-land card type, you may cast a card of that type from among the exiled cards without paying its mana cost. So if you get like a basic land, an instant, a sorcery, a creature, whatever, then you can cast those, but only one of each type without paying their mana cost, right? That's how this works. Fine. This is good. Don't get me wrong. 8 mana. But I feel like in blue, there's a lot of other things you can do with 8 mana.
Yeah.
Blood Tracker, I don't really think.
Nope.
Um,
Enchanter's Bane is the way Red's going to be dealing with enchantments.
which is actually pretty cool because red historically doesn't deal with enchantments. So what's Enchanter's
Red
Bane?
or black don't. 1 in red for an enchantment itself. At the beginning of your end step, target enchantment deals damage equal to its converted mana cost to its controller unless that player sacrifices it. So it's hitting you too, but it's only hitting you for 2.
Yeah. And 2 mana versus your opponent who plays the Bant enchantment deck.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's suddenly making them rethink their, life choices.
Crash of Rhino Beetles is pretty cool. 5 mana for a 5/5 with trample, and then it gets +10/+10 as long as you control 10 or more lands. That's not hard in green.
Nope.
This is like a mishmash of Crash of Rhinos, a very old card from Beatdown or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember that set symbol. It's from Beatdown. 8 mana for an 8/4 with trample. And then I think that the other card that makes up the idea of
Scute
this
Mob.
card is Scute Mob.
Mhm.
It's a fun mishmash there. And also to push my Scute Mob reference here is that you can see Hedrons in the artwork for Crash of Rhino Beetles, and Scute Mob was originally printed in Zendikar, I believe.
Yep.
So that's fun. That's a fun card. Oops. We have Imperial Storm, the 6 mana sorcery that whenever you cast it, we have a whole line of cards that get copied for each time you cast your commander from the command zone.
Yep.
So this one creates a 4/4 angel.
The
We
blue one
have-
creates a token that's a copy of target artifact.
For 5 mana.
And then
Skull Storm is the black one.
Each opponent
which,
sacrifices a creature. Each opponent who can't loses half their life rounded up.
I mean, that's 9 mana though.
Yeah.
The red one is Fury Storm, which copies an instant or sorcery. Okay,
Yeah.
sure. And then we have Genesis Storm, which is 6, and you reveal cards from the top of your library till you reveal a non-land permanent, and you put it onto the battlefield, or you may put it onto the battlefield.
It's like a worse Genesis wave.
Yeah, fun idea, but it's just kind of.
I mean, arguably, I'd say the red one is probably the best.
Fury Storm is pretty cool. There's some pretty nasty red or red and blue. You know, once you go into the multicolor.
Mm-hmm.
I like Entreat the Dead, just because it's the opposite of Entreat the Angels. Entreat the Dead. Right? Yeah, there we go.
Plus, I really like the Miracle border. Oops. You know.
Yeah. It works for me. It hits me in the same way that the new border for legendary creatures does.
Yeah.
So XX, black, 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 return X creatures from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it miracles for X and black, black. It is what I would consider to be the exact opposite of Entreat the Angels. Entreat the Angels come from the sky, Entreat the Dead comes from the ground.
Yep. I mean, actually, if you look at the Entreat the Angels mana cost, it's exactly the same.
Yep. Everything's exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Heavenly Blade Master, tell us about that.
Heavenly Blade Master. 5 and a white for a 3/6 angel, flying and double strike. Okay. Makes up for that 3 power.
Mm-hmm.
When Heavenly Blade Master enters the battlefield, you may attach any number of auras and equipment you control to it.
Mm-hmm.
Other creatures you control get +1/+1 for each aura and equipment attached to Heavenly Blade Master. So, as long as this dude is pumped up, everything else is pumped.
I like this card. This card is good in the enchantment deck and it's good in the equipment deck. I like those cards that kind of bridge the gap between different playstyles.
Mm-hmm.
Estrid's Invocation has been used against me a lot because someone in my play group plays that Estrid deck. For a 3-mana enchantment, you may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any enchantment you control except it gains at the beginning of your upkeep. You may exile this enchantment and return it, so you can switch what enchantment it is.
Right.
That's very good. It's a very good card.
How about Knight Incarnate?
Sure. I was going to skip that, but if you want, go ahead and talk about Knight Incarnate.
4 and a black for an elemental. It's a 3/4 with Death Touch. When Knight Incarnate leaves the battlefield, all creatures get -3/-3 until end of turn. You can evoke it.
I like that it has evoke, but I don't really like it otherwise.
It's a little expensive for the evoke.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit expensive for -3/-3, I suppose they couldn't just make the evoke cost 3, you know? I just think this card is a little spendy.
Yeah. If that was a -4, I think the evoke would be fair.
Sure.
But other than that.
Myth Unbound is a green enchantment that costs 3. This is your commander costs 1 less to cast for each time it's been cast from the command zone, so it halves the commander cost or the commander tax pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever your commander is put into the command zone from anywhere, draw a card. It's a good little bit of defensive commander magic there.
Yeah.
We have a new
green though.
Tell us about the new Magus, Brandon.
Do I have to?
I'll just put it up.
Magus of the Balance. Why can't it be like Magus of Balance and instead of Magus of the Balance?
The Balance.
So 1 and a white for a 2/2. It's a human wizard. 4 and a white, tap, sacrifice Magus of the Balance. Each player chooses a number of lands they control equal to the number of lands controlled by the player who controls the fewest, then sacrifices the rest. Players discard cards and sacrifice creatures the same way. So you just do this, you sacrifice them, and you cast more expensive Balance.
You got to cast it.
Exactly. That's about how I feel about that card.
Something that I really like about this card and its relation to the card Balance itself is that the Eternal Masters, I think that's what it is, the Eternal Masters artwork and this card are done by the same artist and almost look like the same card, except one of them is like a knight guy and the other one's a mage guy.
Yeah,
very similar. I think that those two artworks look really well look really well. They look really good side by side. Ever watching Threshold? Good card. 3 mana blue enchantment. Whenever an opponent attacks you and or a planeswalker you control with one or more creatures, draw a card. This card is worded very specifically to let you know that you're only drawing one card per trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Still good, though. Still like it. Nesting Dragon doesn't do it for me.
Nope.
Nylia's Colossus, though, is an... How about you go over it, Brandon? I've been going over cool stuff lately. You should go over some cool stuff.
6 and a green for a 6/6 enchantment creature giant. Got Constellation. Whenever Nylia's Colossus or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, double target creature's power and toughness until end of turn.
I like that.
Oh, I like that.
What? No, come on. This card's good.
That's just not my thing.
Not okay. That's fair. Not your thing. However,
Constellation wasn't even my thing in, Journey into Nyx. So.
Yeah, Constellation is a keyword that I feel like didn't need to be. They could have just had... I get why they did it.
Yeah.
But it was a little weird. Oh, boy.
Loyal Unicorn.
Sure. We'll talk about Loyal Unicorn. 4 mana for a 3/4 with Vigilance and Lieutenant, the return of Lieutenant. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to creatures you control this turn. Otherwise, creatures you control gain Vigilance until end of turn. I mean, this is a good card, but I don't think I'd ever play it.
Nope.
It just feels clunky to me.
It's also, I think, no, it's not the only Lieutenant. We've got one in every uncommon slot.
I like Lieutenant.
Lieutenant's a great.
Tell us about Octopus Umbra.
Octopus Umbra?
AKA Awesome
Umbra.
Octo-Awesompus Umbra.
Nice.
Shut up.
3 blue for an aura enchantment creature. Enchanted creature has base power and toughness 8/8 and has whenever this creature attacks, you may tap target creature with power 8 or less.
I like this card.
That totem armor.
Yes, Totem Armor and Umbras are just awesome in general. The effects that they give are just fun.
Mm-hmm.
I like these types of enchantments.
That's Sower of Discord.
Sower of Discord is pretty interesting.
Got a great name.
Yeah, 6 mana for a 6/6 demon with flying. And it enters the battlefield, choose 2 players. When damage is dealt to one of the chosen players, the other chosen player also loses that much life. I like how it doesn't damage the other player too. Mm-hmm. They just lose that much life. This reminds me of that one card. I think it was from the original Commander set. That whenever one person takes combat damage, everyone takes combat damage.
Oh, yeah.
You remember the one? I can't remember the name of the card for the life of me.
I don't.
I don't really like Reality Scramble.
I was going to say, I don't want to read that.
Ravenous Slime. How about that one?
Ravenous Slime. 2 and a green, 1/1, ooze. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Okay. If a creature an opponent controls would die, instead exile it and put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to that creature's power on Ravenous Slime.
I like this card.
Yeah. Suddenly something big dies and it gets big and can't be jumped.
It gets really big.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It can get really big really quick. If it comes in as a 1/1 and then a 6/6 dies, it becomes a 7/7 for 3 mana.
Yep.
Yeah. I like that.
Too bad it doesn't have flash. That would be stupid.
Yeah, I know, right? Turntimber Sower is a 3 mana 3/3, and then whenever one or more land cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, create a 0/1 plant token, and then you can tap a green, sack 3 creatures to return target land from your graveyard to your hand. It's reaching for that lands matter strats.
Yep.
And it not only that, but it's whenever one or more, so you're only going to get 1 plant each time. I like the artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The flavor implications there are great.
Yeah. What's next?
Treasure Nabber.
Treasure Nabber. Okay. Go for
2 and a red for a Goblin Rogue. It's a 3/2. Whenever an opponent taps an artifact for mana, gain control of that artifact until the end of your next turn.
I like that. That's fun. Just takes your opponent's mana rocks. It's literally holding a Soul Ring. That's actually really funny. I never noticed that before.
Yep.
He stole someone's Soul Ring. That's very funny.
It's like the art description is show a goblin holding a soul ring. That's it.
Vidalcan Humiliator is 4 for a 3/4 with Metalcraft. Whenever Vidalcan Humiliator attacks, if you control 3 or more artifacts, creatures your opponents control lose all abilities and have base power and toughness of 1/1 until end of turn. But he's a 3/4, and you have to attack with him
Yeah.
to trigger it? It's a little awkward. I mean, 3/4 is nothing to scoff at, I suppose, but by the time you get this guy out, what's your opponent going to have? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's an attack trigger, so it turns all their things into 1/1s when it attacks, and they don't have an opportunity to block. I don't know. I feel like this card's a little clunky as well.
A little bit.
And I don't know what I would say to make it better either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what I could say that would make this make me like it more.
Other than moving on to Varchild, Betrayer of Keldor.
All right. What's Varchild, Betrayer of Geldor, or Keldor, however you want to say it?
She's a human knight, a 3/3. Whenever Varchild
He's a
deals
knight.
combat damage to a player, that player creates that many 1/1 red survivor creature tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Survivors your opponent's control can't block, that can't attack you or a planeswalker you control. When Varchild leaves the battlefield, gain control of all survivors. So
card
you're
has
giving
no
your
downside.
opponent stuff.
Doesn't really have a downside.
She leaves, you get the stuff.
Yeah. And that stuff, when your opponents have it, can't do anything to you.
Yep.
So the only way that I could see this blowing up in your face is if your opponent has sack outlets. You know what I mean?
Yep. You just can't. Don't give your opponent stuff to sack.
Yeah. Whip Tongue Hydra is 6 mana for a 4/4 with reach. And whenever Whip Tongue Hydra enters the battlefield, destroy all creatures with flying. Put a +1/+1 counter on Whip Tongue Hydra for each creature destroyed this way. This is an excellent card in green.
This is the card that you play in your deck that says it's a perfect counter to something. And you say, how's it go?
It's a perfect counter to something, but that's not why you're putting it in the deck, but then you end up winning with that card.
Yep, that's exactly what that is right there.
Yep, that happens every now and again, I'll say.
Once a year, I think.
Loyal Guardian I want to go over real quick just because it kind of goes with the +1/+1 counter strats. We were kind of talking about that deck a little bit in our previous episode when we were going over, or 2 previous episodes ago for Battle Bond, going over Pier and Toothy.
Mm-hmm.
Loyal Guardian is 5 for a 4/4 with trample, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. In a deck that has 2 commanders, the chances of you having one of them out is pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, last but second to not last least, whatever. Tell us about Loyal Apprentice.
Loyal Apprentice. 1 in red for a 2/1 human artificer. It's got haste and lieutenant. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. That token gains haste until end of turn.
I like this card. You don't have to sack the token or anything.
No.
You don't have to attack. You don't have to attack with Loyal Apprentice.
No. You just have to go to your combat step.
Yeah. And it itself has haste, so at the beginning, if you want to just get in for a couple damage, I guess. But
right.
I don't know. I like having Thopters around. They're useful for a number of things. I can see how this card can be pretty underwhelming, though, because it's just a 1/1 with flying every turn, But let me put it to you this. Let me put it to you this way: Bitter Blossom costs 2 mana, and you have to freaking lose a life to get your fairy token.
Yeah.
This card.
I guess so.
Well, I guess you don't have to have your commander out for Bitter Blossom, so Bitter Blossom ultimately is probably better. But just let me.
I've seen where you're going here.
I'm just talking about that. I don't know, just the value you're getting from it, just for having your commander out.
Let's just put it this way. At the time where Bitter Blossom was seeing tournament play, there was so many things to synergize with Bitter Blossom.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah, that's a fair point. And the last card. Loyal Drake. Last card. Loyal Drake. 3 mana for a 2/2 with flying. Lieutenant. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, draw a card. I'm into it. I like it. Just a little baby Drake guy. drawing cards. Neat. And that's it, man. That's as far as it goes for Commander 2018. It's funny, in retrospect, at the beginning of the episode, we actually had a few negative things to say about Commander 2018, Mm-hmm. But I feel like once we got past all the commanders, it was a lot more fun talking about some of the cards.
Some of them, yeah.
Mm-hmm. the commanders in the set we had our opinions of, and it had more to do with their relation to each other than it did the set itself.
Yeah.
So once we started getting to some other stuff like Eric's Methus and Zancha and freaking Geode Golem and Crash of Rhino Beetles and I don't know, Estra's Invocation. There's some gems in these sets, right? But is it my favorite commander set? No. No, it isn't. But it's not nearly as bad. And even pre-show, Brandon and I were talking about it and just jokingly saying we should just not even do this one.
I mean, I wasn't saying that. That was all you.
Okay, fine. I was
Don't
saying
let me in with you.
I think Brandon was thinking it though.
I might have been thinking it. I'll admit it.
But I mean, that wraps it up for Commander 2018. I'm really curious to see what comes in the next Commander set that we get, whenever that may be. But next
hopefully
up on
this one didn't, because I know a lot of the community was pretty sour after this one. So hopefully this one didn't leave enough of a sour taste in people, and WotC's like, okay, we'll just not do it anymore.
So we'll see what kind of shenanigans they come up with the next time around. But that is going to conclude Commanding Magic: The Lost Episodes 2. This is something that we felt like we really needed to do, so we weren't flooding Season 3 with a lot of older content from Magic the Gathering. Mm-hmm. We wanted to begin Season 3 with more current things, news, spoilers, and all that. And with all of that on the table, with Commander 2018, with Core 19, with Battle Bond, and with Dominaria behind us, Commanding Magic will be returning with Season 3, beginning with
Guilds of Ravnica.
And it's also Travis and Brandon returning to the Command Zone. Okay, bye.
Here today.
Today.